Rebirth of the Willow Tree, Building the Strongest Tribe of All Time Introduction. Upon waking up, Jiang Huai discovered that she had turned into a willow tree, fortunately with a golden finger by her side. Looking around, he suddenly had a great dream, which was to build a tribe that was immortal and strongest. But there is a stone village in the neighboring mountain range, and there is also a little one named Shi Hao inside. What's going on? Also, what are those 9 long worms doing pulling the bronze giant coffin? About this book. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Right before this book. This book takes a perfect world as its main worldview, which may be mixed with other content, and there are many. This book won't lick the master, go your own way. I hope everyone can bear with the shortcomings and provide more feedback. Explanation on offering sacrifices to spirits. The setting of this book is in the midst of the wilderness, and not all tribes have the protection of sacrificial spirits. Some small tribes cannot invite sacrificial spirits. The relationship between worship and humanity is mutual, one requires protection and the other requires faith in worship. Thank you for your support. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Thank you for Yen Shizao, Lychee Bullet, Small House, Xiangdi, Friends 2017.86142017.2730, Afei, 8 Wilderness Zhanggu, Book Friend 2019.7055, Tang Hijima, Traveler Sheep, Book Friend 2022.2219, Book Friend 2021.7027, Elastic Diamond, Confinement, You're Cheating, Book Friend 2018.3276, Phantom Emperor, Book Friend 2020.6493, Click on Song Daoran, Book Friend 2019.9173, MOU Whaleyang, Blank Space Bureau, I don't know what name to choose, I am a divine person, Rainy Night Cold Maple, not drunk. No, sword energy rushes into the sky. You, me, and him. Book Friend 2019.7580. It's so difficult for Yifeng to choose a name. Flowers fade without leaving a trace, and there will always be shadows. Brother Bang, what does it fit in? A smile dominates, a man's line. Book Friend 2017.4510. Dreams are expected to be empty. Zhou Yang is very happy. He has a lifetime of deep dreams, cold blood and ink style. Book Friend 2021.4093. Ah Xiangdi, I am very comfortable at this moment. Mohua, a big boy who loves to drink porridge, a member of the bookworm tribe, Yu Xingyan, and Book Friend 2017.2698. Life is like a play, all thanks to acting skills. Losing Money, God of Wine 1, Book Friend 2017.5781, Book Friend 2017.0883, Book Friend 2017.3047, Robot 666, Searching for Her in the Crowd, Book Friend 1611.7349, Jiu Chi Jiu Yu, A Big Head but Not Taking Medicine Baby, Eternal Kingdom, Book Friend 2021.2871, Time Chicken Falling in Love with Time Machine, Watching by Chance, Book Friend 2021.4920, Qin Kongzhua, Lao Shen, Meat Eating Mammoth, Jiu V Fish, Jian Ping Jojo, Xia Mo Misty Rain Drunk, Ink Soul Morn, Dark Night Smear, Not Many. More Sen Scissors, Book Friend 2022.1445, Li Haoyu Chen, Shi Yang, Lonely, Ning Di, Book Friend 2021.0233, Wind and Rain Forest Heart, Book Friend 2021.1744, Book Friend 2021.7027, Book Friend 16080618, Autumn Wind and Night Rain, Book Friend 2022-0344, Book Friend 2021-1394, Love Miss, Mr. Turtle 11, Fish 832, Book Friend 2020-6493, Eat Me a Big Pineapple, Scum Yuan Pushes Your Sister, Cheap Little Book Rushes, Strolls in the Rain, Youth Passes By Easily, Dance and Fleeting Years, Book Friend 2021-3419, Good Habits, When I Shua, Book Friend 2017 3429, Book Friend 1505 4488, Casually Smile, Book Friend 8543 189 2978, Book Friend 2021 0549, Ungrateful and Resolute, Non-Mainstream in Books, Book Friend 2022 6033, Book Friends from 2020 to 3092, Nan Fong, Cabby Beast, Book Friends from 2017 to 9618, Luo Yu, and others gave tips and monthly passes, and I also thank all the Basin friends who support Bagua, thank you very much. Chapter 1. First Lottery. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ding, experience plus 10. Feeling the sound of the system ringing in his mind, Jiang Huai shook the slender green branches on his body in a state of boredom. 3 months. Unconsciously, it has been 3 months since he regenerated the willow tree. From the initial disbelief to the awakening of the golden finger, and now to the ease of the situation. For the past 3 months, with the help of golden finger, he has been earning 10 experience points every day as a reward, but currently he is still just an ordinary willow tree with a level of 0. Nothing else. From level 0 to level 1, it takes a full 1000 points of experience, and with his daily growth rate of 10 points of experience, even now he is still 100 points short. There are roughly 2 ways to increase experience points. The first type is system gifting, which gradually increases experience points by 10 points every day. The second approach is to develop believers and influence. The more believers there are, the stronger their strength, the better their talent and qualifications, the greater the opportunities they gain, and the more experience points they reward. The same goes for power, the larger the power, the richer the experience value feedback will be. However, as an ordinary willow tree with a level of 0, he is currently unable to hear or see. Not to mention humans, even ghost shadows cannot be detected, and this grand road naturally cannot be discussed. This day, 10 days finally rushed by. Dew accompanies the dawn, and the warm glow shines on the earth. Ding, experience plus 10. Congratulations, the host's experience points have reached 1000. Do you want to upgrade immediately? After these days of accumulation, Jiang Huai's experience value has finally reached 1000, which can be upgraded from level 0 to level 1. Without hesitation, Jiang Huai immediately chose to upgrade. He had been waiting for this day for a long time. Successfully upgraded, reward lucky draw once. The system sounds. After reaching level 1, Jiang Huai's body instantly became as sturdy as a water tank, and her height increased by 10 meters out of thin air, reaching over 30 meters. Comfortable. Feeling the vitality emanating from her body, Jiang Huai couldn't help but want to let out a long cry. This sense of comfort is far beyond words to describe, reaching deep into his soul, as if the rain had passed and the sky had cleared, as if thousands of rhymes flashed through his mind. However, he is currently unable to speak up and can only enjoy it in his heart. Race. Mutated willow tree, level. LV1, ring. 10, force. None, number of believers. 0, magic. None, practice. None, item. None, spiritual power. 100, number of lucky draws. 1, after reaching level 1, Jiang Huai not only underwent a change in body shape, but also a personal panel appeared in front of him that only he could see, briefly recording his information. After browsing through it roughly, Jiang Huai directly clicked on the lottery. The lottery is over. Congratulations on obtaining the Divine Power 5 Senses and Divine Power Junior Investigation Technique. 5 Senses Knowledge. After use, it can permanently acquire visual, auditory, olfactory, gustatory, and tactile senses. In addition to tactile senses, the effective range of visual, auditory, olfactory, and gustatory senses is within a radius of 300 meters, can be upgraded with level. Primary Investigation Technique. Can view basic information of any item, not upgradable, automatically effective. Surprisingly, I drew this. Looking at the introduction, Jiang Huai couldn't help but feel ecstatic in her heart. Putting investigative techniques aside for now, what's important is the awareness of these 5 senses. Although there is no need to worry about basic starvation after being reborn as a willow tree, it also loses its visual and auditory senses, and its whole body feels like a walking corpse. Now that he has gained the 5 senses, he can finally witness the world he is currently in with his own eyes and feel the most natural changes. Immediately use the 5 senses awareness. According to the patient excitement in her heart, Jiang Huai immediately thought to herself. Buzz. The next moment. A slightly chilly cold sensation instantly hit Jiang Huai, as if she had been electrocuted. This was not over yet, and then, within the range covered by the line of sight, small droplets of water fell from the air like thousands of paratroopers in the distance. Ancient trees towered over the sky, casting a shadow over the sun. Streams and waterfalls crisscrossed, resembling a fairyland on earth. However, due to the distance limitation of the current 5 senses, Jiang Huai cannot be seen further away. However, even so, it was enough for Jiang Huai to be happy. He saw, heard, and felt even more. The feeling of being able to control her body again made Jiang Huai so excited that she almost cried. Who knows, the days without hearing, sight, and touch for 3 whole months are so unbearable. After a long while, Jiang Huai regained his senses and looked at the second divine power. The changes brought about by investigative techniques are not as obvious, but being able to explore the basic information of anything can also be considered a good help. The days after that. Jiang Huai's life is undoubtedly much more interesting. Every day, he either looks out into the distance or watches small animals passing by playing around. Although the range is only 300 meters, he is also happy and contented. The perception of the 5 senses is different from an ordinary perspective, as it allows for the perception of movements from all directions. This peculiar visual experience, which is almost omnidirectional, gives him a unique feeling. Especially after observing for a while, Jiang Huai realized to some extent that the world she was in was probably not Earth. After all, he doesn't remember any forest on Earth that could be as dense and profound, mysterious and vast as the one he was in, with towering massive mountain ranges rising and falling one after another. Like prehistoric times, he doesn't remember any snake species on Earth that could reach a terrifying length of 30 meters in their past lives. Even the largest known python on Earth, the Titan python, was far behind. This day, just after completing photosynthesis, Jiang Huai, who had just filled his stomach, was preparing to take a nap when a sound of gnawing and groping suddenly sounded. Jiang Huai just glanced and then withdrew her gaze. No need to guess who came. After a moment, the sound of so-so disappeared, and a huge black shadow slowly appeared. Not to Jiang Huai's surprise, it was the massive black python that was over 30 meters long. The other person's body was black and shiny, and he looked quite similar to the black-spined snake from his past life on zhaoxuiyuan.com. However, his body was much larger, twisting and slowly crawling from the side. After arriving at Jiang Huai's side, the giant snake chose a position with an excellent sunny angle and spread its entire body out, comfortably sunbathing. Since a while ago, this giant python has found that the location where Jiang Huai is basking in the sun is the most comfortable, and has almost become a regular here. It comes here every day to lie down for a while. Unless the weather is bad, it is almost motionless except for wind and rain. When we first met, Jiang Huai was so shocked by this python that she couldn't come to her senses for almost half a day. Fortunately, over time, seeing that the snake had no ill intentions, Jiang Huai followed suit. After basking in the sun for a while, the black python woke up from its nap with satisfaction, swallowing a message and leisurely crawling towards the nearby bushes. Although this guy was huge in size, he was not slow to get up, but in a moment he disappeared from Jiang Huai's sight. The other party's nest was built not far away from him, and as soon as they obtained the 5 senses, they secretly glanced at it. It was nothing more than a deeper and larger open-air pit, with nothing worth paying attention to. Jiang Huai still took a habitual glance today. Oh, it seems a bit off. This time. Jiang Huai's gaze, which she had originally intended to retract, was paused. Just next to the python's nest that day, several tender buds that had just broken free from the mud caught his attention. Unlike other seedlings, these small tender buds are uniquely golden in color, shining with a metallic luster under the dim light. They are quite dazzling, and discerning people can tell at a glance that they are not ordinary. Chapter 2. Spring goes, summer comes, autumn and winter come again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Not only did Jiang Huai discover these few golden tender shoots, but the black python also saw them. Looking at the python's expression, it seemed that they had long known that these golden seedlings would take root and sprout here. Jiang Huai paid more attention, but only a few times. He is just a willow tree, even if these golden tender buds are really rare treasures, he won't need them. Furthermore, these unique tender buds grow in the nest of the python, making it clear that the python is their master. Although the snake, Shi Hao, is a bit intimidating, it has a simple personality and has been with him for so long. Both emotions and reason should be kept for each other. Looking back, Jiang Huai continued to gaze into the distance. In the distance, a huge red sun stands tall, rendering the sky bright red, as if covered with a layer of phoenix and golden crown. Everything on the ground is enveloped in the magnificent fuzzy rose color, beautiful and magnificent. He couldn't help but be fascinated by the magnificent scenery purely derived from nature. However, before he could even express his emotions, a burst of crackling rain woke him up directly. The rain came suddenly, exuding a cold feeling unique to late autumn, without any warning, but it was not too heavy. The autumn rain is continuous and never ending. Although the willow tree is not afraid of rain, the feeling of being wet all over still makes Jiang Huai somewhat uncomfortable. Fortunately, it has rained quite a few times during this period, and almost every few days there will be another one. The feeling of discomfort is not as strong as before. Although subjectively not fond of rain, it is the source of life for the vast majority of plants. Jiang Huai is no exception. His root system penetrates deep into the soil, thick and robust, densely packed like a spider web. At this moment, he is crazily absorbing the accumulated water on the soil's surface and accumulating nutrients. Time flies like a shuttle, and youth is fleeting. Time has been reprinted for several years, where can we find the vicissitudes of the future? In the rush of time, 3 years pass by in a blink of an eye. In the past 3 years, Jiang Huai has still not found any trace of humans, and has gained a fixed daily experience of 10 points. Although not many, it cannot withstand the accumulation of time. Upgrading from level 0 to level 1 is 1000 experience points, while upgrading from level 1 to level 2 is 10,000 points, a tenfold increase. As for the later levels, the same applies. After 3 years of accumulation, Jiang Huai has gained a total of 10,800 experience points and can finally upgrade again. After consuming 10,000 experience points, he went directly to level 2, just like the first upgrade, and this time he was also given a lucky draw opportunity. Jiang Huai was too lazy to keep it and continued to use it directly. The lottery is over. Congratulations on obtaining the martial arts technique Forging Body Classic. The Forging Body Classic. Practicing it can strengthen muscles and bones, enhance the physique. A small achievement can hold a force of 10,000 pounds, and a great achievement can reach a force of 100,000 pounds. How could the Cheng possess a massive force of 100,000 pounds? Jiang Huai was very jealous, but what depressed him was that he couldn't cultivate and could only pass it on to his followers. As long as the believer's faith value reaches 60 or above, he can directly impart various martial arts and supernatural powers to the other party, thereby obtaining a huge experience value. And as long as someone has received a gift, regardless of who it is, their faith value will instantly reach 100, becoming a loyal believer. The system only says believers, but it doesn't say that believers must be humans, Jiang Huai thought to himself as he watched the python crawl over leisurely as usual. Once this idea comes out, it won't go down. Subconsciously, Jiang Huai used his reconnaissance skills to glance at the opponent, but was immediately stunned. Race. Ghost King Python, rare ancient relic. Years. 13 belief value. 80 skill. None divine power. None what? The belief value of this python is actually as high as 80 points. Unexpectedly, I don't know. I was startled by the first test. To Jiang Huai's surprise, the belief value of this black python was as high as terrifying 80 points, far exceeding the system's prescribed 60 points. If it had an additional 20 points, it could even become a loyal believer. Can a snake really generate faith points? And it's so outrageously high. Jiang Huai's face was full of surprise, but after thinking for a while, she couldn't come up with a reason. She could only attribute it to the existence of spirits in all things. He decided not to think anymore, as long as it was his follower, it was enough. Believers have arrived, but Jiang Huai hesitated a bit again. Is it a bit childish to let a snake practice? However, he has finally gained a believer, and if he doesn't give it a try, he feels unwilling. With the idea of turning a dead horse into a living horse doctor, Jiang Huai made up his mind and passed on the newly obtained Forging Body Classic directly to the black python. This black python comes from an extraordinary background and is considered rare by the system. It may produce unexpected chemical reactions. In nothingness. A willow leaf slowly drifted down and after spinning in the air, it landed on the forehead of the black python. Hiss, hiss. The python, taking a nap, suddenly woke up. In a daze, it felt as if something else had been stuffed into its somewhat barren brain. It is swallowing information, looking around, without any movement, only the wind blowing low on the grass. Xiao Hai, I'll give you a chance. You need to stand up and find the Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com to get started. The deeper you practice, the more experience I'll gain. Although the first believer was a snake, Jiang Huai still had some expectations. However, it was obvious that the black python did not feel his fiery and enthusiastic hope. In front of Jiang Huai's expectant gaze, the black python shook its head, withdrew its gaze with a puzzled expression, straightened its body again, and continued to bask comfortably in the warm sunlight. Enjoy it. Looking at the black python once again trapped in the gentle countryside, Jiang Huai was speechless for a moment. Okay, he should continue to search for another good person. There is no time in the mountains, and the cold knows no age. In the blink of an eye, it was another 27 years of spring passing, summer coming, autumn and winter. This year, the mountains are sealed by heavy snow. The goose feather-like snow fell for 3 full days, and the sky and the earth were completely white. It was not until the noon of the 4th day that the snow gradually stopped. Countless cold days, everything is silent, as if all sleeping in the cold air. The black python, like in previous years, stored enough food in its body and found a dry cave to hibernate early in the cold winter. It is worth mentioning that just 6 years ago, those golden tender buds that had grown up long ago finally bore fruit, bearing a total of 5 agate-like, fist-sized fruits. The black python immediately swallowed those fruits. After swallowing those dazzling fruits, the black python seemed to have activated some spiritual intelligence and actually practiced the forging scripture passed down by Jiang Huai. And it has also made significant progress. Not only has the whole body become larger, but the scales on the body have also become tighter and harder. Chapter 3. Humans. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xiao Hei's body is even stronger, with shiny scales and armor, greatly enhancing both his attack power and defense. More importantly, after successfully practicing the Forging Body Classic, Xiao Hai directly brought Jiang Huai over 1,000 experience points, which was equivalent to more than 3 months of hard work, making him excited for a while. In addition, after Xiaohe became his fanatic believer, he suddenly had an indescribable connection in his mind. Through this connection, he found that he was able to have a brief conversation with Xiaohe. However, Xiaohe's intelligence is still limited today, and communication between the two is still limited to the simplest words. However, for some of his instructions, Xiaohe has been exploring and learning quite quickly, which comforts Jiang Huai, the towering mountain range. About a few kilometers away from Jiang Huai, there is a low and flat mountain valley that is completely silent. Suddenly, several figures shattered this rare silence. The leader was a young man, dressed in animal skin, with a disheveled hair and a tired face, walking slowly. Behind the young man with animal skin, there was also a woman dressed in the same animal skin outfit. The woman's appearance was not particularly beautiful, but she excelled in her natural simplicity, especially her clear and black eyes, which added a touch of charm. A man and a woman, covered in thick animal skin, struggled to trek through the snow. "Ah Meng, do we really need to stay away from the tribe?" The woman pursed her blue-purple lips, which were frozen from the cold, and trembled as she said. Her physical strength was almost exhausted from the long journey. "The tribe has been annexed, and we have to flee. The farther we escape, the better," the young man with animal skin said decisively. Just recently, his tribe engaged in a war with another tribe due to territorial and food issues. Unexpectedly, the leader of the other tribe had reached the heavenly cave. The Dongtian realm has an extremely strong and terrifying physical body, with a buzzing sound of qi and blood like a long river. It can also inscribe a corner of the totem worshipped by the tribe or a ferocious beast on its body. Even the most ordinary Dongtian possesses tens of thousands of pounds of immense power. What is the concept of a giant force weighing tens of thousands of pounds? With a single punch, even a giant rock couldn't bear it, let alone the mortal bodies of them. The scale of war is already unbalanced. Even if they try their best, they are still not the enemy of each other's unity. The opponent is too powerful, with blood and energy like a rushing river, and a single punch can shatter their bodies. Finally, the tribe was defeated, the leader died in battle, the young men were slaughtered, the elderly and children became laborers, and the women were taken back by the other party to serve as slaves and become reproductive machines. The young people of the animal skins and some other tribal tribes tried their best to escape with all their might, but due to the enemy's subsequent tracking, they unfortunately dispersed on the way to escape. "Ah Meng, if we go any further, I'm afraid we'll enter the depths of the wilderness." The old clan leader once said that there are terrifying beasts inside, some even more terrifying than the leader of the fire tribe. "We can't continue to move forward." The animal skin woman gasped for air and grabbed the man who wanted to continue moving forward. The towering trees ahead were even denser to the naked eye, blocking the sky and sun. The woman's intuition began to warn her that she must stop there. "Then let's take a break here for a while." The animal skin youth nodded and took out a folded pack of animal skin from his arms, finding a flat piece of snow to lay on. These snow packs are exceptionally tight, so there's no need to worry about getting stuck. After finishing all of this, he took out a few frozen, salty, and hard-dried rabbit meat from his arms. "Ah Meng, why don't we stay here? This place is not only far from the fire tribe, but also has a good location. We haven't encountered any beasts along the way, which is suitable for our survival," the animal skin woman suggested. As she said, the terrain here is not only flat and open, but also blocked by mountains on all sides, and there is no shortage of water sources. It is definitely a unique place to live, even the previous tribal site selection is far from good here. The young man with animal skin looked around and it was indeed true. Humans. On the mountaintop, Jiang Huai noticed these two figures and was somewhat excited. Although the man and woman are thousands of kilometers away from him, his five senses can be continuously improved with his own level. At level 1, his hearing, vision, and taste can reach 300 meters. Now at level 2, these abilities have directly reached 3,000 meters, tenfold enhanced, and the opponent's every move is in his sight. It has been over 30 years, and this is the first time Jiang Huai has seen humans. In terms of appearance, the other party seems to be in a primitive era, with weapons made from unknown beast bones and animal skins, indicating that the level of technological civilization is not too high. But we cannot say it too absolutely. After all, even in his past life, there were some primitive tribes in the remote mountains and forests where people rarely traveled. As for appearance, with yellow skin and black hair, he looks more like an Asian, and his facial features are no different from modern people, even more handsome and beautiful. In sight. After stopping to rest, a man and a woman stopped moving forward. They found a huge hollow tree hole inside and stuffed some dry thatch inside. The two of them went straight in. This is a unique way of living for their tribe. Finding a book garden www.zhaosuiyuan.com not only saves time and keeps warm, but also prevents the raids of certain carnivorous beasts. With a temporary resting place and days of hard work, the young man and woman with animal skins soon fell into a daze and fell asleep. Jiang Huai did not startle the snake. He decided to observe for a few days. Although he was eager to develop his followers now, he could not have anyone. At the very least, these two people cannot offend anyone who cannot afford to offend, otherwise once the other party is found, he may also be affected by the consequences. He is still far from strong enough, and the only two divine powers he has obtained cannot achieve self-protection. He needs to persevere. In the following days, the young man and woman of animal skin stayed in the tree hole, hardly coming out except for solving their physiological needs and hunting. The hunting skills and experience of the young animal skins are very impressive. Even in the cold and freezing winter, they can harvest a lot, almost catching a small animal every few days. The two of them had no spark on their bodies, but carried a lot of coarse salt. After killing their prey, they would apply salt to the surface of the prey and then marinate it on the snow. After marinating it thoroughly, they could eat it raw. The snow begins to melt on the 19th day. On this day, Jiang Huai finally accumulated enough experience points to upgrade to level 3. Level 2 to level 3 required 100,000 experience points, which took him nearly 30 years. 30 years is already enough for an ordinary person to grow from birth to adulthood. Fortunately, his lifespan is long enough, and he can earn at least tens of thousands of years of longevity yuan for every level he breaks through. Otherwise, he may not be able to afford it. Jiang Huai's heart and mind moved, and the 100,000 experience points he had finally accumulated were instantly cleared. Chapter 4. Debris. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Race. Divine Willow, Level. LV3, Ring. 35, Force. None, Number of Believers. 1, Divine Power. The Sense of 5 Senses, Investigation Technique, Practice. Forging Body Classic, Item. None, Spiritual Power. 300, Number of Lucky Draws. 1. After reaching level 3, Jiang Huai's body size underwent another change, reaching a terrifying height of 300 meters and a width that was even thicker when hugged by dozens of people. Especially, the magnificent vitality like a vast ocean made his originally bare branches once again sprout dense willow leaves. From a distance, the huge tree crown blocks the sky and the sun, and the thick vines like dragons hang down in the air like green waterfalls. Unknown wild flowers dot the surroundings of the river locust tree, and the strange fragrance of the flowers spreads, refreshing and refreshing, making people feel relaxed and happy. This change is very exaggerated and shocking. Fortunately, Jiang Huai's unusual appearance is not too conspicuous in this vast and sea-like mountains, with even more prominent trees around him, and a considerable number. Those giant trees are lush and towering into the clouds, with no trace of the cold winter. There are even a few that are blooming and bearing fruit. They are definitely valuable and rare treasures in their past lives. Once they are listed, they will attract countless wealthy people to pursue them. However, in this deep mountain and old forest, it is no longer ordinary. Apart from the changes in his body, his sense of 5 senses was once again enhanced, from a second level 3,000 meters to 30,000 meters, equivalent to a 60-mile radius. Within this range, there is no wind or grass that can escape his eyes. After the lottery is over, a lottery opportunity will be given as usual. Jiang Huai naturally uses it immediately, which is his most enthusiastic part after upgrading. The lottery is over, congratulations on obtaining the divine power. Secret Technique Control Corpse, can be upgraded with level. Secret Technique for Controlling Corpse. After consuming a certain amount of spiritual power, one can control the buried corpses within a radius of 30 miles. The strength of the corpses will directly affect the level of spiritual power consumption. When the spiritual power is exhausted, those undead spirits that will never be able to return will be reburied in this vast wilderness. White bones are like sand and snow. The general rests on the lookout tower, and they will swear to defend everything to the death, even if there is no body left. The introduction of the secret technique to control the corpse is several more lines than the items from the previous 2 lottery draws, and it is more detailed. Obviously, this time the quality is extraordinary. I finally have the ability to take the initiative to attack. Jiang Huai quickly browsed through the introduction of the secret technique of controlling corpses at a glance, and couldn't help but feel a little excited. Not to mention the effectiveness of this ability, at least it is his first ability to actively attack and also his first ability to protect himself. Silent in thought, Jiang Huai planned to test the power of this ability. This ability may be strong or not, but it's not strong either. The literal meaning is not difficult to understand, everything depends on how many bones and what kind of bones he has buried on the ground within a radius of 30 miles. If there are only a few shrimp soldiers and crab generals buried around him, then this ability can definitely be called a chicken rib among the chicken ribs. Fortunately, this ability, like the 5 senses knowledge, can increase with level and has growth potential. It can be considered a potential stock, and even the worst outcome has the possibility of a comeback. The execution of the secret technique is not complicated, just Jiang Huai needs to silently recite the words, controlling the corpse, in her heart. Simple and easy to use. The word, controlling the corpse, fell, and the originally calm ground suddenly shook. Dong 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 dong, it's like a heart beating rhythmically, or like a stone falling into a calm lake in the void. I only heard a deafening roar the next moment. About 100 meters away from Jiang Huai, the earth is cracking, dust is flying, and the sound is grand next up. From the depths of the dark underground, 2 incredibly large skeletons slowly crawled out. These are the skeletons of 2 giant pythons, over 100 meters long. The bones are as black as ink, and as they walk, they constantly make collision sounds similar to steel. Although they have turned into pure white bones, they emit a terrifying aura, venting their strength during their lifetime. Looking at the 2 skeletal pythons that came into view, Jiang Huai was stunned for a long time before regaining his senses. He originally thought that Xiaohe's body size was already large enough, but he didn't expect these 2 to be even bigger. Standing upright, they were equivalent to more than 30 floors high, and even placing the truck next to him looked like a toy. I didn't expect such a terrifying existence to be buried beside me, which really excited Jiang Huai with a hint of surprise. And at the moment these 2 skeletal pythons appeared, his spiritual value instantly plummeted visibly to the naked eye. At this level, Jiang Huai can control them for at most 3 minutes, which is enough to show the terrifying strength of these 2 skeletal pythons. Apart from these 2 corpses of giant pythons, there are only some bones of ordinary birds and beasts left, but they have already become decayed with the sedimentation of time. The kind that can break apart even in a strong wind can be easily dealt with by ordinary people and is of little use. The number of such skeletons is not small, but it is not very useful for Jiang Huai. It is just a futile effort to increase his mental energy consumption, so he simply withdrew his control over them. These two skeletal pythons. Why? They look a bit familiar. Jiang Huai's eyes were burning, staring at the two huge creatures in front of him. However, after a moment, he found that these two skeletal pythons were inexplicably familiar, and it seemed like he had seen them from somewhere. It seems that and Xiaohe are somewhat similar. Jiang Huai suddenly remembered. Although these two skeletal pythons have long lost their flesh and blood bodies, their five senses are powerful, and even small details can be infinitely magnified in sight. The signs of these two skeletal pythons are very similar to those of Xiaohe, but they are both large and small, especially on the back, with a protruding layer of hard bone keratin covering the snake's head and tail. This is something he has never seen from other snakes. Is it difficult? Are these Xiaohe's parents or adult peers? Jiang Huai was a little surprised. But if these two skeletal pythons were really Little Black's parents or an adult ghost king python, how could they become like this and be buried in the vast black soil? End of life and sleep. Jiang Huai was somewhat uncertain, but in preparation for exhaustion of his spiritual strength, he carefully examined these two skeletal pythons from top to bottom. Finally, this time at 7 inches, he found an anomaly. The snake bones of these two skeletal pythons, located 7 inches away, surprisingly have an extremely imperceptible black hole the size of a hair. Black holes pierce through their 7-inch hard bones, piercing the entire snake body. Even for a long time, they still shimmered with a cold and gloomy light. You don't have to think about it, you can guess that this little golden dot is probably the culprit that caused the deaths of these two skeletal pythons. However, given the size of these two skeletal pythons, they were undoubtedly the undisputed rulers of nature in their past lives. Who killed them? Jiang Huai pondered in her heart and inexplicably felt an unprecedented sense of crisis. Chapter 5. The Arrival of New Life. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. If this world is not ordinary, but extraordinary, then all of this seems to be understandable. Why are there 100-meter-long pythons, and why are there exotic grasses that can enlighten beasts extraordinary? Extraordinary, these two words immediately weighed on his heart like a heavy burden of 10,000 pounds. This is actually the last thing he wants to encounter. For a long time. Take a slow sigh. Whether the world is extraordinary or not, developing one's own strength is the way. If you are strong enough and have enough cards, you will be fearless and push all the way. Just as he was pondering, an unprecedented sense of fatigue suddenly surged through Jiang Huai's body like a tide. The time has come, and his mental strength of up to 300 points has been completely exhausted, leaving nothing to be squeezed. And losing control of their spiritual power, the two skeletal pythons were immediately enveloped in mud and sand and reburied underground. Jiang Huai also fell into a deep sleep. Fortunately, Jiang Huai has a strong recovery ability, and can recover over 300 points of mental power in less than a day. If his level is higher in the future, his recovery ability may be even more terrifying. The next day, at noon, Jiang Huai became lively and energetic again, and her spiritual strength regained its full potential. At the first moment of awakening, he glanced at the young man and woman with animal skin. The two of them were still hiding in a tree hole, surrounded by dry grass to resist the deep winter of snow and wind. Almost all the large beasts around here have already entered Little Black's belly, becoming the nourishment for his hibernation. Jiang Huai is not worried about any accidents, the only uncertain factor should be this bone-chilling winter. Fortunately, it seems that these two people's breath is stable, and they have obviously survived. The cold winter continued to ravage the world and lasted for several months, during which there were several heavy snowfalls before finally reluctantly stepping off the stage in the belated spring breeze. After the beginning of spring, the ice and snow melt, and the murmuring streams crisscross like jade bands, blending and merging with each other, forming the ubiquitous living water in this deep mountain between heaven and earth. The temperature is gradually starting to rise. The young man and woman who had been hiding in the tree hole all winter were finally willing to come out. Their previously stored frozen salted meat was depleted a few days ago, and coupled with not catching any prey in the past 2 days, they have been starving for several days. Fortunately, they all persevered and waited until the vibrant spring. This day. As far as her gaze could see, Jiang Huai suddenly noticed that the woman with animal skin had a completely enlarged belly. The woman is pregnant, obviously several months pregnant. Judging from the size of her belly, it seems that she is still pregnant. Jiang Huai is a bit happy. The birth of new life represents the first addition of population to his territory. Although the young man and woman of animal skin still lived several kilometers away from him, subconsciously, Jiang Huai had already regarded them as the population of his own territory. As spring approaches, there are more prey in an instant, and the hunting skills of the young animal skins have not faded at all due to the cold winter. They are still incredibly advanced, with new gains every day, and even the meals of the animal skins women have become more abundant. This time they no longer used salt to marinate raw meat, but under the persistent efforts of the young animal skins, they finally used the principle of drilling wood to start a fire and raised a fire in front of the tree hole. Spring is different from winter, as the temperature in spring cannot reach the dry and low temperature required for marinating meat. If salted again, there is a high probability of spoilage. With the addition of meat, the woman's body became visibly plump, in stark contrast to her previous emaciated appearance. Time is fleeting and fleeting. Unconsciously, several months passed again. Before the spring of the second year arrived, the children of the young man and the woman were born. Accompanied by piercing cries, several small indigenous people welcomed into this unknown mountain range. What shocked Jiang Huai was that the animal skin woman gave birth to 3 in one go, 2 men and 1 woman, both of whom were very healthy, and each one was not small in size. She didn't know where to absorb the nutrients and developed so well. Unfortunately, for such a long time, the young man and woman with animal skin still haven't left the tree hole too far, which has prevented Jiang Huai from implementing his idea of passing on the credit. As for the assessment of these 2 individuals, it has long been over. No one else has appeared for so long, either they have no enemies at all, or they have enemies but their strength is not very good. After all, animal skin women and young people can only be considered slightly stronger ordinary people, even ordinary people cannot cope with it, and their enemies are obviously not much stronger. Since it's not very good, then Jiang Huai naturally has nothing to worry about. Time flies, and 15 years quietly pass in the blink of an eye. A long time has left indelible marks of time on the faces of the animal skin woman and the animal skin youth. Their temples have slightly turned white, and they have entered their 30s, with a few wrinkles on their foreheads. In the past decade or so, the animal skin woman has given birth to 5 more children, 4 girls and 1 boy, and the previous triplets have already reached 8 offspring. The oldest is already 15 years old, a strong and muscular boy. As for the youngest, she is only 1 year old now and is the most favored young girl in her daily life. For the convenience of living, they also found a larger and wider tree hole nearby, composed of densely intertwined tree roots. In order to be waterproof, the woman even deliberately laid several layers of large unknown leaves on top. This day, before the root hole, a young man sharpened the spear in his hand. The young man is the eldest son of a beast skin woman and a man, named Zhuang. As his name suggests, although he is only 15 years old, his overall strength is no less than that of a beast skin man. He was able to fight against fierce beasts such as lions and tigers as early as a year ago. Son, remember not to move forward. Going further is the depths of the wilderness, where there are terrifying monsters and ferocious beasts, even your father is far from a match. The animal skin woman kept reminding the young man. Learning and achieving solo hunting is a necessary step for every tribal man. Teenagers were able to do it a few years ago, and women were purely accustomed to giving a few admonitions. Don't worry, mother. The child is just looking around here, definitely not going deep. Zhuang nodded and said, holding a spear, quickly walking in a direction. However, this time it was different from before. After walking a little further, the young man suddenly turned his head and walked towards the depths of the wilderness where the animal skin woman refused to go. A newborn calf is not afraid of tigers. He wants to see what's really deep in that dense forest. The young man has great confidence in his military prowess. He can use traps to kill fierce beasts such as lions and tigers. Even if encountering more terrifying beasts and birds, he can withdraw in time. This is the pride unique to young people, and it is definitely not enough to make them remember with just a few words of advice. Chapter 6. Lin Zhuang Spring. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. It's not easy. After waiting for more than a decade, there's finally someone who's not following the rules. On a mountaintop. Watching the young man constantly approaching her direction, Jiang Huai inexplicably wanted to cry. To be honest, he had never imagined that the women and young men of animal skin could live so miserably around here for 15 or 16 years, yet they refused to lean towards him at all, and their activities were limited to their surroundings. Not only that, the two even stepped back a distance and resettled their home by a stream. Fortunately, they have a disobedient son. On the mountain road covered in fallen leaves, the young man's figure grew closer and closer, reaching the top of the mountain where Jiang Huai was located. After flipping over here, the true depth lies behind. The young man was eager to explore, but how could Jiang Huai let the fat in his mouth run away? In the air. A little water droplet, like jade, fell from the air and slowly dripped behind the young man's neck. A chill suddenly struck, as if someone was whispering in their ear, "Who?" The young man was alert and quickly looked around. Apart from the sound of wind and flowing water, there was no one else. It was too suspicious for him to finally attribute it to himself. It must be because my mother always talks about how terrifying it is in the depths of the dense forest, that's why I was scared. The boy muttered inwardly, but the direction of his footsteps betrayed him. Hiss, hiss. However, just as the young man turned around, a huge snake head that was triangular in shape and raised high directly entered his sight. What a huge snake head it was, with a pair of crimson eyes staring straight at the young man, like a high-hanging red lantern, full of supernatural meaning, slightly larger than the young man's head. When did Lin Zhuang see such a terrifying and exaggerated beast, almost collapsing to the ground in fear? In the depths of the wilderness, how could there be such terrifying monsters? Compared to them, lions and tigers are as weak as ants. The young man pursed his lips and felt the majestic power emanating from the python. A strong sense of regret flashed in his heart, regretting why he didn't listen to his parents' sincere advice. Hiss, hiss. The python disregarded the boy's thoughts and kept swallowing the message, getting closer and closer to the boy's head. Lin Zhuang can even clearly smell the foul odor emanating from the snake's mouth. Is this dying? The young man's face was full of despair, and he couldn't help but cover his eyes with his hand. He doesn't want to resist, but under such a terrifying beast, what can he do even if he resists? It's just a dying struggle before death. Moreover, at this moment, his legs were already weak and sore from fear, and he couldn't muster any strength to resist. Pop! At this critical moment, a crisp sound suddenly came from the air. Lin Zhuang's fingers instinctively opened a gap, revealing a pair of crystal black eyes. In sight, a thick and vibrant willow twig suddenly extended from a distance, striking the tail of the python like a sharp sword. The python let out a strange cry, its slender letter drooped at the corner of its mouth, and then glanced at a several 100-meter tall willow tree behind it, showing fear. It quickly fled to the side and disappeared from Lin Zhuang's sight in an instant. Good acting skills, Xiao Hai. Even if I don't award you a little golden man, I feel like I'm losing talent. Looking at the final expression of the black python, which was like the finishing touch, Jiang Huai gave a big thumbs up in her heart. This black python is nothing else, it's Little Black. After more than 10 years of development, combined with the body refining classic, Xiao Hei's body size has developed rapidly, reaching over 50 meters. Not only has his body size improved, but his spiritual intelligence has also advanced rapidly. He can now understand some simple instructions from Jiang Huai and execute them with great precision. The main purpose of scaring the young man this time is to cooperate with Jiang Huai's performance in a play. Others are heroes saving beauty, he is the god Lu saving the little fart child. There is no other way, who knows that the prescribed transmission of merit requires the other party's belief value to reach 60, and Jiang Huai really can't think of any other way, so he can only come up with this strategy. The belief value of 60 points will be discussed separately. He must first make the young man his follower. Fortunately, although the idea is cliché, it doesn't hold up and the effect is good. Yes. You saved me. Lin Zhuang, who had survived the disaster, looked at Jiang Huai's position and rubbed his own eyes fiercely. There was no sound around, except for a gentle breeze. No one answered him. Although there was no response, Lin Zhuang still had a determined expression on his face. Just now, he could see clearly through his fingers. Just as the giant python was about to swallow its deadly blow, a willow twig fell from the sky and sucked onto the black python, saving his life. And the owner of the willow was the towering tree in front of him, several hundred meters high. Lord Lu Shen is up. During his speech, Lin Zhuang knelt down directly on the ground and made several loud bangs on his head. In the boundless wilderness, addressing the deity in the middle is the most respectful expression of the heart, while the word adult is an elegant name, meaning emphasis, which also expresses one's inner admiration and does not necessarily refer to humans in general. In the following time, Lin Zhuang would sneak over every day, either sharing some of his daily observations with Jiang Huai, or spitting out his stereotypical parents. The former is selectively filtered by Jiang Huai, while he is particularly interested in the latter. Indeed, it's quite rigid. After so many years, I haven't delved into it at all. Time passes through such trivialities and carelessness. Zhaozhuyuan.com. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 days rushed by. This day, Lin Zhuang still goes up the mountain as usual. In order to avoid arousing suspicion from his parents, during this period, the young man would hit a few wild rabbits on the road every time he came to Jiang Huai's place. Thanks to the skilled skills learned by the young man from the animal skin, there are always significant gains. As for the little black python, its body size is too large. Foods like rabbits and pheasants are like a soybean to it. Eating them not only doesn't fill its stomach, but also stuffing its teeth, which is completely out of its menu. This has also led to the abundance of small animals in this mountain range, but relatively few large animals. Lord Lucian, this is a wild vegetable cake made by my mother's hand. It is made from ground powder made from bacon grass and ground whisker grass roots, and it tastes particularly delicious. If it weren't for the 100-pound wild boar my father caught this time, I wouldn't be able to eat it on weekdays. The boy kept talking about what had happened during this period. Although it was a self-talk, it also made him enjoy it. Just one, leaning against Lu Shen's side, his sense of security doubled. What the young man didn't know was that as he confided during this period, the number above his head that only Jiang Huai could see was rapidly increasing. 50.8 50.9 60 Your second believer's faith value has reached 60. Do you want to start transmitting the merit immediately? Almost simultaneously, the system sounds. Jiang Huai has been waiting for this moment for even longer, so naturally there is no hesitation. In the endless void. With a movement of Jiang Huai's heart and mind. A seemingly unseen willow leaf suddenly swayed in the wind, and then slowly drifted down. Chapter 7. Spring of Lin Zhuang, 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In mid-air, that willow leaf bends be impartial and impartial. It happened to fall on the boy below. And then disappeared. The young man who was talking loudly suddenly paused. The next moment, the boy stood up with a loud tang. This is This is the scripture bestowed by Lord Lu Shen. Feeling the unfamiliar memories that suddenly appeared in his mind, Lin Zhuang first looked surprised, then surprised. No doubt there is him. Lin Zhuang closed his eyes and carefully felt the forging body classic. The more he realized it, the more he could sense the terrifying unfamiliar heritage in his mind. A small success can hold up to 10,000 pounds of strength, while a large success can even hold up to 100,000 pounds of immense strength. Lin Zhuang had no concept of a force of 100,000 pounds, but he clearly remembered that his mother had told him that the murderer who destroyed their tribe and caused them to flee here was only a few tens of thousands of pounds of force. For a long time, the young man opened his eyes, then took 3 steps and 2 steps, walked quickly to Jiang Huai's body, and knelt heavily. More devout than last time. The delicate willow twigs dancing in the gentle breeze and that towering willow tree that seemed to stand tall in the eyes of the young man. It is so majestic yet mysterious. He originally thought that Lord Lu Shen had never paid attention to him, and that day's rescue was just a whim. But it wasn't until now that the young man realized that Lord Lu had been there all along, quietly watching him from the high sky. And everything today supports his conjecture. He passed the test of Lord Lu Shen and received his praise and recognition. After obtaining the Forging Body Classic, Lin Zhuang went to Jiang Huai's place more frequently and for a longer time in private, almost staying for a whole day. In addition to daily chatter, he mainly demonstrated the body refining techniques from the Forging Body Classic in front of Jiang Huai. Lin Zhuang's talent is decent, although he is only exploring and practicing alone. He has also practiced with a certain level of skill. This is the benefit of system power transmission. No need for guidance from others, although the level of understanding may vary from person to person, as long as one is willing to put in effort, everyone can achieve something. Although it is only a basic body refining technique, the Forging Body Classic has brought significant changes to Lin Zhuang. However, after half a month of effort, Lin Zhuang's body bones became stronger and his physique became more agile than before. In addition, his muscles were more explosive, like those of a cheetah. After truly feeling the progress of his body, Lin Zhuang became even more hardworking, almost to the point of dancing and forgetting to eat and sleep. 5 years passed in a blink of an eye, amidst the sudden learning and hard work of a young man. Lin Zhuang is 20 years old. The couple also reached the age of 40. This once little brat grew taller and even taller, with a tiger back and a bare waist. His upper body was shaped like a metal-shaped inverted triangle, like a prehistoric beast, 1 head higher than his father's. After 5 years of diligent learning and training, coupled with good talent, the young man's strength has developed rapidly, reaching the point where he can easily tear down large beasts like lions and tigers with just a pair of flesh hands. He is incredibly fierce and no longer requires traps or weapons to assist him. This day, in front of Jiang Huai, Lin Zhuang was practicing the moves in the Forging Body Classic with a systematic and eye-like approach, waving with a tiger creating a strong wind. Compared to before, Lin Zhuang's movements at this moment are extremely skilled, and there is no sign of any unfamiliarity or lag. Ha! Hey! On the field, Lin Zhuang's fist movements were completed in one go, light as flying, heavy as thunder, shaped like a tiger catching rabbits, and divine like a cat catching mice. He has already achieved some success. In the scripture, it was written that one can achieve a tremendous strength of 10,000 pounds by practicing until they reach a young age. Now, I should belong to this group. Lin Zhuang closed his fist and grabbed the towering boulder next to him, easily lifting it up. He doesn't have a scale, he can only roughly estimate, but the difference is not much. With a tremendous force of 10,000 pounds, even a lion or tiger's head would explode in an instant with a single punch. However, although there has been significant progress, Lin Zhuang still lacks any complacency. Even now, the figure of the python from the past still occasionally pops up in his mind. Lin Zhuang estimated that even now, he still finds it extremely difficult to deal with the python. With just a sweep of the tail, the other party can easily break his spine. He's still too weak. But Lin Zhuang is already very satisfied. His strength has increased countless times now, and even his father is not his nemesis. Lord Lu, these days my father said that there are suddenly some strange traces nearby, like others. My father and I have decided to investigate tomorrow morning, so we cannot come to accompany Lord Lu. Lin Zhuang put away his moves and respectfully said. Although Lord Lu Shen has never paid attention to him, he knows that Lord Lu Shen has been watching. For this reason, he has been wanting to inform his family about Lu Shen's situation for years, but he dare not make rash decisions without obtaining approval. Is someone here again? Jiang Huai was a bit surprised. Why didn't he notice? Subconsciously, Jiang Huai reached the pinnacle of his five senses, and finally, on a low hill, he discovered an outsider in Lin Zhuang's mouth. There are over 30 people in total, all armed with weapons and full of killing intent. The leader is a burly man wearing a tiger skin beast robe, with a beard all over his face, and a centipede-shaped scar that is more than 10 centimeters long slanted through his left face, which looks quite frightening. Zhaozhuiyuan.com. These people are hiding in the messy bushes, covered in branches and weeds all over, very hidden. No wonder Jiang Huai didn't notice them in the first place. The visitor is not kind. Jiang Huai's gaze was deep and he looked back and forth several times at the scared man. Since the last upgrade, his five senses not only greatly increased his distance, but more importantly, he also acquired a special ability. You can sense the danger level of other creatures, and this scar man gives him a stronger feeling than Lin Zhuang and the couple. But he couldn't stop Lin Zhuang from going either. That group of people was imposing and clearly came towards the Lin Zhuang family. It's better to hit head-on than avoid disaster. Of course, the most important thing is that although the other party is stronger than the Lin Zhuang family, in fact, it's just like that, Xiao Hei can completely abuse the other party. If Lin Zhuang really can't hold on, there are still them. At least Lin Zhuang is also his first human believer, so it doesn't matter if he can take care of them more. After kowtowing and bowing 9 times to Jiang Huai, Lin Zhuang hurriedly descended the mountain. There was nothing to say overnight. The next day, just as it was dawn, the mist was rising in front of the tree hole. Boss, you and the second brother will go to the east, I will go to the west, and we will investigate separately. Remember, don't act recklessly. Once you find something, you must tell my father before taking action. Hanging a long and used long sword behind him, Lin Meng's gaze swept over Lin Zhuang and others. Boss, you have the strongest strength, but you are also prone to acting recklessly. At other times, you just don't care, but this time you must be careful, take care of yourself, take care of the second person. Lin fiercely patted Lin Zhuang's shoulder and said. Chapter 8. Spring of Lin Zhuang, 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. For this boss, he is both pleased and helpless. I am pleased because the boss follows him, even surpassing the blue and surpassing the blue. His strength is extremely strong, and he can hunt down fierce beasts like lions, tigers, and wolves alone without any weapons, which is not even stronger than when he was young. Even geniuses in certain tribes who use ferocious beast blood medicine to quench their bodies are not inferior. Helplessly, it's because this stinky guy sometimes acts too recklessly, especially relying on his own brute force that even dares not listen to his words. Every time he makes him blow his beard and stare helplessly. At other times, he could let bygones be bygones, but this time it was of great significance, and he suspected that the human traces that suddenly appeared were brought by the people of the Fire tribe. Second, remember to remind your older brother to do something, Lin Meng anxiously reminded the young man next to Lin Zhuang. That is Lin Chen, the second brother of Lin Zhuang. His figure is equally majestic, but not as exaggerated as Lin Zhuang's. He was almost born at the same time as Lin Zhuang, so he always wants to compete with Lin Zhuang, the boss, on a daily basis. But in recent years, I have been afraid of being beaten by Lin Zhuang. It's really unbearable. A casual touch by Lin Zhuang will make his skin red and swollen, and it will take at least a few days to get down. Father. Lin Chen gave a rather melancholic glance at Lin Meng. His father is really like that, just like his big brother. Do I dare to remind him? Why don't you say it yourself? But he can only think about this in his heart. He can't afford to provoke either his father or his elder brother. Alright, everyone take action. Regardless of whether you notice or not, be sure to gather here at noon and remember to pay attention to safety. With a wave of his hand, Lin Meng gave another warning and immediately hurriedly walked towards the direction, disappearing into the thick fog. The thick fog rolled and flowed like a rushing river, instantly enveloping the figures of Lin Zhuang and others as soon as they entered. Fortunately, as regular residents of this mountain range, they have experienced this situation many times, and the surrounding roads have been marked early, so they won't get lost. At a hill location. Lin Meng was the first to discover the Scar Man group. Although his physical fitness has been declining with age, his experience over the past few decades is solid, knowing where the most hidden and least noticeable places are. Surprisingly, it's Hulong. However, after finally seeing the appearance of the scarred man, Lin Meng's face was instantly as frightened as earth, losing its initial composure. He guessed that it was very likely that people from the fire tribe were chasing after him, but he never expected that the leader of the fire tribe would be the man who almost slaughtered his entire tribe with his own strength, Hulong. Leave, you must leave here immediately. Lin Meng dare not stay for a long time. He is well aware of the terror of Scar Man and plans to take advantage of the fog to quickly leave here and notify the others. However, just as he was about to get up, a big hand suddenly struck, lightning fast, and caught Lin Meng directly. The remnants of the Lin tribe, do you still want to run when you come? Hulong's face was gloomy, and he had already noticed it as soon as Lin Meng came over. He has now entered a half-step cave realm, and the strength of this realm is beyond the imagination of those ants. It's ridiculous that this humble ant thinks he's perfect. Want to be like a fish in water on foggy days. It's really ridiculous. With a wave of his hand, Hulong threw Lin Meng aside, and immediately surrounded by members of the fire tribe holding swords and knives. It's not easy. I chased after you for over 20 years before discovering your traces. If it weren't for my brother's name calling for him to personally kill you, I would have just strangled your neck. Hulong, with his hands on his back and a fierce expression on his face, said fiercely. The Fire Tribe and the Lin clan were originally hostile forces, with many of them engaged in battles. However, as their strength increased, this balance was disrupted. The entire Lin clan was slaughtered by him, and it was despicable that these few people did not accept their lives. They even blinded his beloved younger brother's eyes while fleeing, causing the man second only to him to fall from grace. This deep hatred has always been recorded here, and he has never given up pursuing it for decades. The purpose of personally going out of the mountain this time is to catch the remaining sin of the Lin tribe, Lin Meng. Unexpectedly, upon discovering some clues, the other party actually brought them to their door first, without any effort, which made Scar Man feel good. You gangsters, let go of my father quickly. Just then, a roar suddenly came. It's Lin Zhuang and Lin Chen. They were nearby and rushed over when they heard the commotion. You are not his opponents, hurry up and go back to take your mother and siblings away from here. Lin Meng couldn't help but cry out with tears in his eyes. Leave the Green Mountains behind, not afraid of having no firewood to burn. It doesn't matter if he dies, as long as his wife and daughter can survive. Lin Zhuang couldn't possibly listen, so he let out a low shout and forcefully swung a huge stone that was over 2 people tall, smashing it fiercely towards Hulong. Good kid. Hulong let out a loud roar. Although he was surprised by the strength of the young man in front of him, his movements were not idle. The huge iron hammer was swung high and aimed at the rushing boulder, pang. Stones splashed and many fell on the nearby members of the Fire Tribe. They don't have the ability of Hulong. How could they resist those burst stones by searching for flesh and blood bodies in Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com? The scene immediately heard screams of agony. Many people from the fire tribe were directly hit by the splashing stones, causing blood to flow all over their faces, and even a few unlucky ones died on the spot. Okay, I see you're just looking for death. The sudden changes around him made Huolong furious. Those who came with him were all elites from the tribe. If there was one less, there would be none. Now that he hasn't taken action yet, he has suffered several losses. How could he not be angry? Huolong threw away the hammer and directly bullied himself forward, frantically smashing towards Lin Zhuang. In the dense forest, any weapon will be limited by space, and only hand-to-hand combat is the most terrifying weapon. Bang bang bang. Huolong's punching speed was extremely fast and the angle was sharp, each punch weighing tens of thousands of pounds. Lin Zhuang just took a few punches and became a bit flustered. After all, the forging body classic is only a pure quenching technique, without any combat skills. On the other hand, Huolong not only has stronger strength, but also richer combat experience. Until now, Lin Zhuang has relied on not only his strong physique but also his daily experience in hunting wild animals. It's okay to talk to others, but for the experienced leader of the fire tribe, it's obviously too immature. The gap between the two is becoming increasingly apparent. But Lin Zhuang is also resilient, and even so, he is still persevering. Go aside, my leader. Huolong was a bit angry and no longer concealed his strength. The terror of the cave realm poured out. A punch struck with a force of tens of thousands of pounds. With such tremendous strength, it was far from hard to resist. Lin Zhuang flew backwards and couldn't get up for half a day, causing his chest to collapse.